Welcome back. We are in session 2. So excited to have you here. And congratulations on some great work done in session 1. So, session 2, what are we doing? We are first reviewing our session 1, the work that we did in session 1. Second, we're identifying values. And thirdly, we are going to learn a tool to help us with how much we're engaging with our values, living into our values. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do in our review is go to our workbook for session 2, and the first fillable page is about intention and creating space again. So I invite you now to either restate the intention that you put for yourself, our last session, or if you're being called to a different place, being called to a different intention, that's great. You can write that one instead. And once you're done with the intention, I also invite you to reflect on the space that was created yesterday. Yes, the space that was created last session, which might have been yesterday, and reflect on what you're inviting in now. What do you want to invite in from that space that is being created? So go ahead and do that, and then when you are done, come on back. All right, fantastic job with intention. We are moving on to our values. So values. Values can be defined as a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. Value denotes the degree of importance of something or action, with the aim of determining what actions are best to do, or what way is the best to live, or to describe the significance of different actions. So values allow you to show up authentically. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. So values are often the guiding factors in your life, one of them. They can be the rubric against which you make decisions. You can ask yourself the question, is this activity, this thought, this action in line with my values? Is it in line with what I view as important in life? With that in mind, have you ever taken the time to name and own your values? So there are a few different ways to do this. First, you can think about 5 events in your life that affected you deeply. They can be big or small. How were you affected by these events? What does the situation teach you about your values? Okay. Then there's the second option, second way. List 10 people you admire. What are the qualities of them that you admire? These can be values that you also want to live in as well. And thirdly, in the packet, there is a list of value words provided that you can go through and see what resonates with you. So, first, think of one option. Think of 5 events in your life that affected you deeply. Whatever comes to mind when you think, what do I think about what affected me deeply? What does the situation teach you about your values? List 10 people that you admire and what qualities or values do they have that you will incorporate into your life, and just looking at a list of words to say what resonates with me. So these are all options in the workbook pages. So you'll find each option has its own workbook page, so please feel free now to go through and start thinking about these 3 options. You can engage in all 3 of them, you can engage in one of them, whatever is speaking to you right now, and when you're done, come on back. Okay, great work with the values. Now, before we move on to our indicators of how we are engaging with our values, I want to make a distinction. So the distinction between living by shoulds, judgment, and expectations, and the distinction of living with your values. Okay, so living by shoulds, judgment, and expectations manifests into living by someone else's standards. The shoulds are from someone else many times. The judgments are because you are comparing yourself to other people, and the expectations or paradigms that are put out there that we're taking on. So it is also living based on external approval or what is important to somebody else. Values, on the other hand, are guidelines, interests that resonate with you. You decide what is important to you, what fires you up, and how you want to show up and serve. That's what owning your values does for you. So, with that in mind, our next activity is our values, key performance indicators. So, our KPI for our values. So, the question is, how do you practice your life values? How do you know you're engaged with them? So now that you have named your values, I charge you to go out into the world and live them out, right? No problem. Easy to do, right? What? How do you know you're actually living into them? The values serve us when we are intentionally engaging with them. So the KPI, the key performance indicator, works 2 steps. First is put the value in your own words. Doesn't have to be, we're not looking for dictionary definition here. Put the value into your words. What do you mean when you say community? What do you mean when you say creativity? What do you mean when you say individuality? Like, what does that mean to you? Okay, that's step 1. And then step 2 is describe how you then intentionally engage with that value that you just defined for yourself. So an example, for me, community are people in my life that have shared interests, passions, or from whom I offer or receive learning and support. That is my definition of community. How do I intentionally engage with my community? I add to community or create community each week by reaching out to a friend or actively creating opportunities for community to gather. So right now that could be like a Zoom happy hour or putting together these programs for the Life Following community. So that's how I know the actions I take to engage with the value of community. So again, in your workbook, you have got space to do this activity for your top 5 values. So they can be the values that just speak to you the most right now, but pick 5 values to do your own definition of and your KPI of. Come on back when you're done. Bravo to you! You have your getting some traction on your values. And today, this session has been one of hopefully awareness for you. So we named our values and gave a framework, boundaries for living our life. And we engaged in a tool to aid in being intentional with those values, that KPI. So next up, our next session is skills and zone of genius. Do you know what your zone of genius is? So that is next time. As we close out this session, I invite you to go to that reflection page in the workbook session 2, and just take stock of what you're feeling today. Take stock of your takeaways. Make some note about where you are and how you're feeling and thoughts that are coming. A little reflection for you there. So I invite you to do that. And then I will see you for session 3, Skills and Zone of Genius.